The nuts and bolts, I guess, of the proposed changes are currently the annual budget for the CSB grant was $3,000. They'd like to see that increase to 10,000 annual. They'd like to take that and do it over 2 cycles a year. So instead of just having the September 30th deadline for submissions, also adding a March 31st deadline. So then that would end up being with, an April and October CSB meeting, likely coming to your guys's May and November council meetings for approval and funding is sort of that timeline, right? It takes a little bit of time to get them through the process of you guys signing off on them and then having the money roll out to the groups. Flexibility to carry over that budget. Obviously, you'd kind of look at 5,000 in the spring, 5,000 in the fall, but that if it isn't utilized in spring, that we could utilize it in fall, or if we felt there was a project that was really great in the spring that we wanted to, spend a little bit extra on, some flexibility with those dollars within the fiscal year. That group seeking between $1,000 and $10,000 should be directed to come to Community Services Board for the grant before making just an open presentation to council. And that in the application and reporting process, they want some changes. So in the application process, changing, asking about other funding that they have applied for or received for the same project. You're telling us you have a $2,500 project, but you've gotten $500 here and there, giving us that reflection in what you're asking for. And then updated reporting requirements to ask for receipts. So we'll fund up front like we do today, but then just when they hand in the report piece, asking for some photocopies of those receipts, showing that what they actually came and presented for is what the funds went for, and that it didn't just end up in general operating because plans changed and they didn't spend it. So just that accountability piece there, that they would come back to us if for some reason they weren't able to spend it on what they had presented on, that we would get that information back.
Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe I should let you
No,
finish.
you're good. You can ask questions.
You might have it already in there, but I was just wondering, is there, people that come back every year, is there going to be some sort of restriction? I guess, if there is nobody else applying, will they still be eligible, or is it a one time within a period of years, or
so currently
that it goes around?
So currently how it's written is you can apply every time it's eligible. But when we sit down after the presentations come in, we do have a bit of a scoring matrix we work through. And one of the things that is included in there is years since you last received a grant. So you're marked more favorably if you haven't had a grant in recent years, and it slides down, the longer it's been from it. So there is an advantage to folks that are newer. They get a little bit better ranking that way when we do some of that scoring. So I guess for that part of the process, paper applications come into the office by the deadline. I then reach out to the groups and we set up a time when the next CSB meeting is and schedule them to come. We usually schedule them about a 10-minute block. They come in, they give a little presentation about what is your organization, why are you asking for the grant, gives the board members an opportunity to ask questions. If there's something in the written application that wasn't clear or that we want more information about, we get that. We do all of the groups that are in that cycle, which can be anywhere from 1 to, I think one of our ones a couple of years ago, we probably had 8 or 9, Vern?
8 or 9.
Yeah, so it really just varies by cycle of how much interest there is. So sometimes it's great, you can fund everybody's request, and it makes for a real easy conversation around the table. Are these all eligible? Check, check. Okay, we're good with our recommendation. Some years we're oversubscribed and do have to say no. Yeah, do you have a question, Kyle?
Yeah, I just question. My preference would be to increase like 20,000.
Okay.
And it would make it easier. Councilor Warwick's always been vocal on it too, that it's confusing. When every group comes and they ask how much do you give? Is it rent discount? Is whatever? It would be perfect for next council to sit here and say, no discount, no money, go to CSB. And increase that to say $20,000.
Okay.
Send out letters to like farmers market is the ideal one.
Right.
Every year they come and ask.
Or you had rodeo
It's
recently.
to the point now where it's implied they get this discount. Give them lots of notice and say, hey, you're not going to get it this year.
Here's the process.
As I named a council for a discount, you're going to get the same invoice. However, you get the same deal if you go to CSB. The concern would be then, of course, if they're not going to get it every year. But if you can increase it to $20,000, things like that would make it much better. And maybe $20,000 for the first 2 years is okay. And since we've been 150 years since we've increased that seat,
It's been a long time.
It'll take a few years to get caught up. So to start
Absolutely.
at 20, make sure everybody can get what they need. And in 2 years, maybe it's 25 or 28 at that point. That'd be my recommendation. And to send out letters to say those ones that are under the assumption they get this discount every year, say no more through council, it all goes to CSB. And in turn, it might turn into more, a trimester of allotting those funds. I'll do 3 meetings instead of 2 a year or something.
And 3 might be doable, like thinking through the process of just when CSB tends to meet. We take summer off. Usually for sure that we don't have meetings, and knowing if council, whether it will be similar next year of taking summer off, just that timing of getting everybody through. But 3 is probably manageable to fit into the year. Anything more than that probably gets a little crazy. And it is nice for CSB for them to be grouped and you have something to compare to and kind of see where you're at in your funds. If they come in ad hoc all over the place for every meeting, it's a little bit harder to manage.
Yeah, I love the idea.
I do too. And I would support that as well. I also, pardon me, are you asking for a copy of their financials?
So it is in the application that they can provide those. We get a variance of things depending on the group, right? Some have a full, package that they have signed off, that they have a bookkeeper do, that they've got everything in there and have a really clear, balance sheet and income statement and all the things. Some have a more generalized, here's about what we bring in, or here's our bank statement, you can see that, but you can't always see all the details. We usually are able to kind of ask some of those questions to get clarification around, what are your costs? When you have, what are your revenue streams? What are your costs? So we do have some of those conversations, but we don't have necessarily a formal checklist of you must provide these specific documents. We want to make sure it wasn't too onerous for groups, right? If you're coming in for a grant, previously 500 is kind of the lowest we would go when we had the 3,000 to divvy up, because anything less than that seemed like it wasn't worthwhile to make a purchase or do much with. I think moving up in this, you're probably now looking at 1,000 being your benchmark of where you're probably giving funds. If it's less than that, there's maybe other avenues that those groups would take. And so trying to be careful with both application and reporting that we get the information we need, but that we don't make it so many man hours that it's not feasible for groups to do.
If there's a template that is fairly straightforward and simple for people to follow, I've applied for grants over the last 15 years and everyone asks for a copy of the financials. Mind you, they're either provincial or federal.
Yes, and so just keeping the scalability there.
And if they have a substantial amount, in bonds or anything else, if that voids the application, how does that reflect it as well? If they have a huge amount of savings and they're coming for money from the CSB, how does that reflect on their eligibility to apply for funding from?
So we don't have a hard and fast number that is you can't have based on this. It is, again, we look at that scoring, kind of one of those things that the guidelines do lay out that it's supposed to be based on financial needs. So when we're comparing applications, that would be something that's looked at, but we don't have a hard and fast that says if your bank account has X, you're ineligible.
I think that would be a good thing to maybe put some emphasis on, because why are they keeping all that money in savings and going to somebody else that's taken it from another organization? Perhaps, maybe it is something that has been through an estate or whatever that they're bound to, but at least then it gives them the opportunity to explain why. And then that could explain that and then increase that door or whatever. But if some are just not utilizing it, why? A rainy day, well, is it pouring or is it not? Maybe tapping into some of that. And then there is still more money to go around within the other organizations that would be coming to CSB.
Absolutely.
Just as a comment.
And there was a comment too in the discussion about should we require matching funds? If you're getting more than this much, should you have to prove you have matching dollars and things like that? Again, you tend to have lots of small groups, and we've had some startup groups that have gotten funding before. So we didn't want to wall those people out of being able to participate. So trying to kind of find that balance between fiscal responsibility, but also not making it so hard for people to get started.
Well, and I don't think you want to make it so hard for your committee as well. If you have it up to X number of dollars for this application, and then from this time then it ends up being onerous for all the board members doing the reviewing and that sort of thing. But that might be an option as well, up to $500. Maybe it's just sort of a real simple application. If it's more money involved, maybe you want to have a bit more detailed information provided. So just a thought.
Yeah, I think if someone was coming in asking for $10,000, we'd probably have a few more questions for them than somebody who's coming in for 1,000, right?
And that they do actually have the quote ahead of time, and they have something that they have done some homework on it. If they're saying they need this money and they don't have a quote or a copy of a invoice or whatever, then I would think that should be a strong indicator of the application.
Yeah, and we just noticed on the reporting side that we didn't really have a mechanism. We do have a report that they submit that says that, yes, they use the funds for this, a little one pager that they fill in. But there wasn't really that financial accountability to say, did you actually purchase X item that
Yeah.
you came here for.
When was the project completed? When
yes.
was it started? Yeah.
Yeah,
when
and
do you
I will
expect
wait
it?
for them to let us know, we've all been involved, I'm sure, with the grant where things have
Mhm.
changed and you've had to pivot
Oh,
what you want to
yeah.
use the dollars for. So just have that accountability
Yeah.
piece if that has occurred.
Yeah, thank you.
So one of the things that you would be looking for from council, well, actually not from council, from administration, is the existing rental structures for the rummage sale, the rodeo, the community, farmer's market.
If that was council's direction, that you guys weren't going to entertain those at the council table and that they were going to come to CSB.
Most of them are already on reduced rates now.
Yes, and so if you were gonna tell everybody they're going back to book and that you want any discounts to come through us, we need an understanding of what the current discount was, I suppose. And if it was council's thought process that those would be honored going forward, kind of knowing like, are we checking that box and saying they're always getting them, or are they competitive with the rest of the applications? And so there'd be some direction there for sure if we were gonna pivot those ones that have just been reductions that haven't necessarily been cash out and in previously. We need some understanding of how many dollars we're currently discounting in a year, I think, to know if the 20,000 is the right number to account for those.
And I mean, in our meeting next, we can want.
Yep,
And then we can all get recanted at budget time with new council.
sure.
That's the
Yes,
struggle.
you can give us a direction to say that this is what the board policy is, but yes, I mean,
Yeah.
anything can of course change down the road.
I'm confident
that-
they'll explain the history of
How we got here.
the inconsistency is frustrating for
Yeah.
everybody, this side of the table and people presenting.
Yes, to know when
So
you
we
should
get
come to
that.
ask, who you should ask, how you start that process, right?
Yeah.
I think is
Yeah.
difficult. I guess I will say outside of what you guys see for presentations, like the reductions we'll use the farmer's market as the key example that everyone's familiar with. We do other gifting kind of facilities that I would like to see stay out of this process. So from the FCSS table, things like there's a group that's trying to organize a seniors fair. We want to gift in kind them a facility. We have a group that with like our family resource network that runs programmings, we give them free space in Centennial Place because it helps deliver our FCSS mandate. So for those ones, just so for council's awareness that we do that gift in kind that comes through our FCSS budget, that those would still be kind of to the FCSS discretion to say, yes, that's a program that meets those criteria that we're partnering as the town on, not a separate groups program that we're being asked to discount, just for some clarification there of how those work.
Yeah, and then that would be typical for any other organization associated with the town, but if it is a separate entity and everything, then they have to go through the CSB.
Any other questions, concerns, comments, ideas about what you guys want to see?
Thank you for bringing this forward. I think it's a great idea. And yeah, then it frees everybody up for doing something else and not having to deal with the one-offs or whatever and the last minute things. Guilty as well. Like I think a lot of us are guilty of that, but that was just the scenario at the time. But this will give another option and opportunity for others. So thank you.
And so meet again before your guys' next council meeting. So we had left this kind of in a work in progress state there, and we're going to do an email motion on it, but we will be seeing each other in person now before you guys come back together. So I can take your friendly amendments to them and see if they are interested. I can't imagine they're going to say no to getting more money out of the thing there, but I will give the board their ability to vote on that. As always, whatever recommendation comes to you guys will have the ability at the end of the day to amend it anyway. So, but I thought if we had the discussion and got to a clear place, make your guys' job easier in October when it comes time to vote on it, that you've got all your questions out to the forefront.
And the new council can decide where the money's coming from.
Yes, that's perfect. You can agree to it and then don't have to find it in budget.
Your problem, yeah.
But looking at, if we're rejigging that money that's already technically happening, right?
Yeah.
We're already discounting it. We're just not showing it in the same way, right?
Yeah.
It'll just move to a different line item.
Perfect.
Thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you. Yes.
No, if you want a motion or just for a blanket. Okay. Sky.
So I know council has had a concern with mobility scooters and they're not currently included in the traffic bylaw. So I came up with two recommendations. So the first option is within the municipal boundaries of the town of Hanna, a person operating a mobility aid, including a mobility scooter, shall not operate the device on any sidewalk or pedestrian pathway. A person operating a mobility aid on a highway shall be subject to the same rules of the road as apply to motor vehicles, including but not limited to stopping at stop signs, obeying all traffic control devices and traffic signals, yielding the right of way where required by law. A person operating a mobility aid on a highway shall travel as near as practical to the right-hand side of the curb or edge of the roadway, except when lawfully crossing the roadway or making a left-hand turn, and shall, when it is safe to do so, permit overtaking vehicles to pass. And then option 2 would allow them on sidewalks and pedestrian pathways.
I think we want to keep them on the sidewalk as much as possible. We've got a couple that are king of the road scenarios, and I think I'd like to try and push them to the sidewalks as much as possible, in my opinion. But anyone else? Councilor Cole's not.
Well, we like through links and that we've noticed like we're out on the road every Wednesday and whatever. And we've done some study and research to see what could be done and who could control all this and that. And I definitely appreciate that you took this upon yourself. It's great. Yeah. But I think it's definitely gotta be, something has to be done or somebody's gonna get hurt. And it's,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I like bicycles need a helmet. Is that some sort of requirement for anybody?
Kids under the age of.
Well, I think adults do.
No.
Well, anyways, it's, maybe that's something.
That's our
Because,
safety issue.
but there's some that are just, there's no safety on them, like, those little scooters will provide no safety if they ever get hit. And is there some other device that, is that an option to have that in there to protect them? But I agree that they think they're the king of the road and they just cut across traffic and, I don't remember seeing many that have mirrors. Maybe they do. I just haven't noticed. But is there going to be some sort of training on how to operate a motor scooter on the road? Maybe there should be, you need one for a bicycle, right? That, motorbike, something. But, the fact they've got a motor, maybe there should be some sort of training required or I don't know if that would create more of a hassle, but are they qualified to be able to be on there? Just in the sense that they know what the rules are and for their own safety, whether they follow them or not is their own problem, in my opinion.
I think direction on that would be back to what we've tried to do with all of our other bylaw enforcement would be information, if Sky sees someone that's not complying with the rules, that she could give them a notification that these are your expectations from the town. And I don't know if we ever mandate helmets for scooters.
Yeah, well, I don't know. That was just a thought that if they ever get hit, they're wide open for injury.
Council Olson's first and Councilman.
I do find it interesting, like bicycles are not allowed on sidewalks.
Mhm.
But we want the scooters on sidewalks.
I think there's two scooters, what we're talking about. We're talking about ones that kids stand on when either electric or push, but we're also talking about the seniors that can drive those mobility cars.
Those mobility ones we want on the sidewalks?
I don't think we want those on the sidewalk, but we want them to obey to some rules, maybe.
Yeah, follow the same traffic like rules as regular vehicles, so they have to stop at yields and stop signs and.
Is there a differentiation of how you think of sidewalks versus the paths? Like the pathways seem like a great place for a scooter.
Oh, absolutely.
to be,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Versus a sidewalk on Main Street.
Yeah.
With a sidewalk on Main Street, you're kind of limited to being able to get out of the way. If there's vehicles parked there versus the pathways, there may be more freedom to be able to get out of the way to allow the scooters going that may be on it. I think would be my differentiation between the two.
Councilor Murphy.
The pathways were actually built specifically for scooters so that the folks at the lodge can whip into town and not feel so isolated. So that part's great, but having them on the other sidewalks, they can't. There's a reason they're not using the sidewalks because half of the dips are missing. Just take one of those travel luggage carts and try to walk through town. They're missing. It's just ledges. So we can't expect them to go on the sidewalk because they will fall. Depending on the strength of their scooter, they can't scoot back up to the sidewalk. So the sidewalk thing is very dangerous for scooters. They go too fast. Some of them go fast enough they can actually cause injury. So we absolutely cannot have them on the sidewalk. Pathways, no problem. That's why we built them, but we can't have them on the sidewalk. And that would just fly in the face. Then the kids go on the sidewalk with their bicycles. They get in trouble, go, but dude just flew by me at 30 kilometers an hour. So they have to go on the road and the pathways, and those are very specific. So I think that's.
I just have a comment. I do not believe they were specifically built for the scooters. I believe it was to get people off the road in general.
No,
So I believe those
we-
pathways were also for the public, to seniors walking, getting them off the highway regardless if they're pedestrians or whatever. And I think they all need to respect the rules of the road, the pathway, whatever, for anybody that's on it, and regardless if they're scooters or pedestrians.
Just, I know when we built the pathway from the lodge, that was the discussion about the width, was to ensure that the scooters could go inside on that pathway.
Wanting to meet anybody else coming the other way, so.
What was this?
And to meet anybody else passing on the other way.
Exactly.
I think I was on council that time too, so.
So the general idea that I'm hearing, correct me if I'm wrong, is we're going to keep these scooters off the paths or off the sidewalks. Is that consensus? Directionally, it's not. Council Kroll?
We kind of suggest maybe having a scooter safety course, like, something like the bicycle safety course at the RCMP and so on put on.
Yes.
It would make them just an educational thing, and it would be, something that could be done when they're turning rink,
And I'm sure with all the training and stuff that probably research someone to do, even the RCMP or,
Actually, the Acadia Foundation, they have 3 or 4 folks who use scooters, and they have to be reconfirmed every year that they're still allowed to use them, that they know how to use them. And that's worked very well. And sometimes they've said, no, Bob, you can no longer use that scooter because you're not performing on it properly.
So that's for some of the senior housing, is that a requirement of the lodge?
It is a requirement of the lodge.
Okay.
but
Yeah.
but
But it
it's
might be
only
something.
for the ones at the lodge supply, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because there's,
Oh, no,
Can-
they're on personal scooters even.
Okay, well, stop one at a time. Council Kroll?
because there's probably
Exactly.
10 that come out of the lodge that are, 9 of them are the worst candidates on the road, it's. So signing a paper or whatever is not controlling them. There has to be something that has to be done.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, and again, I think it's an awareness thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing back to bikes, and it's back to, I think if we can make people more aware and potentially, and I'm gonna say educate, then it'll be a win-win situation. So the last thing I wanna have happen is somebody get run over by a scooter on a sidewalk, or vice versa, someone on a scooter getting run over by a truck. I know several years ago at the hospital, I was stop sign, looked both ways, and scooter got across in front of me, and luckily it was a very minor bump. But again, he apologized. He said, well, I thought you were stopped. I said, well, I was, but you were down the street a little ways. Well, I was just going to the hospital. I went, I understand that. So, but I think if we could educate people a little bit, and again, through the, the wink, wink, nudge, nudge, hey, you shouldn't do this. I recommend you not to do this. So I think it's good to go. Okay,
Thank you.
so you got some directions, Guy, like it, you can bring it back in the form of a bylaw. For first reading in October, and go from there. Agreed, Council Bowden?
I'm sorry. Oh, is this gonna be covered under I think it is about the dogs. How are you making out with the
Yeah, that's on.
Okay, never mind. Thanks, my apologies. Thank you.
Thanks, Guy. Oh, Counselor Thurl.
Got one comment about scooters, the rummage sale, coming down into the. Off the
Off the ground, yeah.
they had a couple incidents because, the lips are coming in. But to the. Off of the ramp coming down, there's a lift. Some of the scooters can't make it over. So they're wondering, town council and that when we have functions, so we can get, ramps built. So people can get in and out of these, places properly.
There are ramps.
In the one side, but coming into the hockey rink, there isn't.
Oh, okay.
Back to me.
Yeah, because, we, had to lift 4 or 5 and one got stuck. And so,
Okay, no, that's valid
yeah. It's just for when they literally.
for the ones twice a year.
Yeah, twice a year. But there's something easy just to lay out there, just because the curling rink has it works really well.
Cool, thanks, Guy. Mr. Matthew.
Yeah, last week I attended the AB Munis Economic Strategy Committee meeting. It was our last meeting of the year, because we have an election or to apply to be back on it next year. They focused on stuff like off-site levies, which I don't think are a big issue for us right now. But one of the fun things we got to do is we got to tour Edmonton Airport, and they did a discussion for us about how they're coping right now, what's going good for them, what their struggles are. They said that people traveling through both Edmonton and Calgary, the numbers are up, which is good, but people are not flying to the States as much as they used to. But Edmonton Airport said that they're going to benefit because of the increased NATO spending. So there's a lot of going to be military equipment going through the airport, which is good for them. They talked about if your municipality has an airport, that you should really take advantage of that. It's a major economic advantage to have an airport. So that's something, we should see where we can take advantage of that, especially with all the potential developments taking place in this area. And the best part was I got to go in a Boeing flight simulator and take off from Vancouver Airport. So that was a fun experience to do that.
See the door fall off?
No, but one of the councillors from Edmonton, she bounced us down the wrong way, and the pod was shaking and bouncing, and the people outside watching were laughing because it was a good experience. So yeah, in regards to the dogs, it's the issue we thought we had resolved, only for it to come back stronger than ever before. I had Sky take her fine. We're just going to keep fining her. Like, she promised that she would get rid of these dogs, that she was at a party and somebody decided to drop these dogs off at her house. I think, I'm not sure what the number is now. It was, what was it, 12 or 8? Where my wife works, somebody told her that she had puppies within the last few weeks as well. So there's, it's a mess, but we fined her this week. She refused to take the ticket, but we taped it to her door. And we will do so every week until this problem is resolved. I don't know. The vets have said that, they're not going to put down any more dogs. The dog places are all full, so there's nowhere. So it's a disaster, is what it is.
In larger centers, is it SPCA?
Yeah,
Dealing with it? Do they have any similar situations that might?
well, they came out here and they looked at the dogs a while ago. The first dogs, and they said that they were all healthy and fed, so they had no concerns.
Yeah, the SPCA is looking after, the animal cruelty.
Yeah, but have they experienced any of the same scenarios where dogs are being dropped off and there's more than what they can handle?
Yeah,
Because eventually their health will be an issue. And I
I
just
think they're
wondered.
inundated, so if they can pass the buck, they're gonna pass the buck, and everyone passes the buck to us at the end of the day, so. So if any councils like to adopt several dogs,
But who says that's gonna be the end of it? It's just gonna be a revolving door.
yeah. I don't know, like, yeah, it's an ongoing thing with us to try to figure out this.
Yeah.
Okay,
She had said she would try to get rid of the dogs, but did not, so. We will do what we can do, which is find it, and we will find every week.
Yeah, without the ability to go in and just do
Yeah.
them,
Which,
which we can't do.
yeah.
That's cool.
the finding isn't,
Even if you
I mean,
take
it's not really doing nothing, I mean.
Getting it.
It's.
I mean, she's aware of the problem, so I mean.
We have to
giving her
do
a
something.
fine, like, it's
But we're
not-
bound by what we can do.
Well, and we have to consider the other residents that live surrounding them. They've been doing this for how many years? And so do we know if any of them are dangerous or they're all?
This last batch appear, well, I shouldn't say batch, the group that's in there right now appears to be. And again, I'm not a dog expert by any stretch of imagination, but it looks like there's a batch that are approximately 2 months old. And then another batch that appear to be between 4 and 6 months old.
So there's,
So they're not little puppies, but they're puppies. And so. And I've talked to her personally a couple of times and she gives the same, I'm trying, and I said, well, no, like, why would somebody dump off a bunch of dogs while you're at a party?
Yeah.
And specifically in your fence?
yeah,
Yeah,
they know.
Like, I
exactly,
mean,
yeah.
people are gonna drop dogs in town and drive away, they're not gonna go in and open up a gate. And dump some dogs into somebody's backyard, my opinion, I could be wrong, but.
Well, and how long does it take before they become pack dogs? Like before they,
Well, we're already gonna start now, because.
yeah,
that's just-
because they just, it's a matter of yeah. Anyways,
so, or
So is there any? Sky, maybe you can help, is there any legal, like, can we take her to court? And get a judgment, is that something that's a possibility?
I talked to Rob and he said we could get a lawyer and try to bring her to court, but it would be pretty expensive. And we could possibly seize the dogs, but he wasn't 100% sure.
The challenge is,
Yeah.
and we've spent a ton of money on this already between yourself and Chelsea and Tracy and Matthew and staff. And Brent, and you know, I realize that there's costs, but I mean, we can't continue to throw more money after a project that's not going away. I mean, when we did the spade and neuter and the euthanization, I mean, that was probably, it was expensive touch, but I thought that was gonna solve our problem because we had gotten her down to and 2 dogs. And then this showed up literally the next weekend, like I think it was Fridays when we did the spade and neuter.
Yeah.
And then the following Saturday, I get a phone call going, hey, there's dogs out on the street. I went, no, and drive down and, yeah. So, but I don't know, I guess I'm to the point where we can't continue to spend $5 or $10 or $15 every time and then still not be anywhere. And I don't know if even getting a judgment against her is going to do anything, because she can just wash and repeat basically.
if we seize the dogs, what do we do with them? Where do we put these dogs? We take 12, 14 dogs from that house, where do we put them?
Yeah,
well, and who says that's gonna be the end of it? There's gonna be,
Yeah.
well,
it's gonna be, they're gonna keep appearing out of nowhere and.
And to me, like the best way is to keep finding her. We'll find her every week. More than likely, they won't get paid, but they'll go on her taxes. And it's a 3-year process from them.
Does this lady have any next to kin?
Well, I don't know.
Can you garnish your wages to pay the bills? Oh, okay.
That would be legal. We'd have to go through civil to do that.
I don't think you can.
Okay, our next burning issue is the property that was burned out property that they put a development permit in. The development permit expired and no work had been done, so Chelsea went out there and we put a sign on their door that they had to clean up the yard or demolish that house. And they came in and they spoke to Chelsea, said, I'm sorry, not Chelsea, Sky, we'll have a little update from when I wrote this on what they asked for.
They asked if they could have a couple of weeks longer than I gave them, so they have until October 22nd to clean up the yard and demolish the house themselves. Or a contractor will clean up the yard and then we'll hire somebody to demolish the house, but
Thank you. That will be amazing. There's been so many people that have expressed concerns about the houses on both sides are for sale, so that I think will sure help for sure.
So after conversation with them, are you confident something will change?
I don't know. They said they've slowly been cleaning it up, but I looked back at Chelsea's pictures and it looks kind of around the same or a little worse.
Yeah.
So I'm not entirely sure.
Is there any, so are they up on taxes, like they're,
I'm not sure.
Well,
where
they're
they-
square, are they?
They're current right now.
Okay, so, I mean, a 3-year process and nothing's gonna change.
Mhm.
Would there be any discussion to purchase that property? Call it 5,000, 10,000, I don't know what a number would be, but it's a good investment. You look at the community around it, to purchase it and just knock it down ourselves.
Yeah.
Yes, it costs money, but again, it's another problem that can be rectified, just level the bloody thing.
Turn into a dog thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, if that's an option, if we can tempt them with,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not gonna be a real value of it, but
Yeah.
But once it's cleaned up, then you can sell that property and get
Yeah.
some recovery of the
Well,
expense.
if we were to purchase a property for even $5,000, it's probably gonna cost between 25 and
Yeah.
30 to demolish
Clean up.
the existing, so you're into that
Worth it.
property for 35,000, if not more.
and if we get there, how much warning do we need to give to not?
Well, yeah,
Mhm. Exactly.
well,
Nice to get it done.
as long as the taxes are being paid, unfortunately.
That's why I'm saying I don't
No,
wanna
I-
wait 3
I-
years when
yeah.
nothing's gonna change. If if they don't have the ability to clean a yard, I suspect they don't have the ability to demolish a house properly. So yeah, if that would be an option, if you have conversations with them, Matthew, if they're open to it.
Yeah, we can bring that to next.
If that's a thing.
Because we would need a motion, so we. can
Yeah,
bring that
yeah.
to next meeting. So we can maybe chat with them
Mm-hmm.
more.
So if they're open to it.
Yeah, that's pretty much my report. I mentioned before that there was interest in purchasing some land in the town of Hanna for a potential new industrial business. They did increase their offer to purchase that land. So I think there's just, I don't know, an update since they increased their offer, but yeah, they seem keen to come here and take advantage of that location. That's pretty much it.
That's not town land, that's.
It's not, it's privately owned, so they made an initial offer and then the landowner came back with a,
Culture.
yeah, and they matched that counter offer, so. We'll see where that goes.
Also,
Do you have an update on the Pioneer Trail? When the work will start?
your signs went up today.
Yeah. And they're putting in that dam, they started work on that.
The culvert, yeah.
Yeah, so that will be the next big thing that happens. And depending on weather is when that road will be completed.
That's cool.
Palliser Trail. I've had numerous complaints on that. It's, hey, everybody appreciates what's done there. But have you ever rode a bicycle or a motorbike down that road? It's absolutely dangerous. You got those 3 strips. Each strip is a different level, but to skip in, I got pictures of it. I stopped by there this morning. I had numerous phone calls, so I thought, well, we'll see. I got on my motorbike. If you went down there at night, guaranteed you'd have a wreck. If you went slow, it's more hazard if you go slow than it is at any speed. It is absolutely terrible. Like, I mean,
Like each lift has a different,
Well, it's
Layer
got,
two?
there's three strips, right? Where they join, they're both wide open. Like, they're dipped out, like a motorbike or a bicycle tire would fit right into that trench that's there. And, like I say, it's not nice.
The connections to the side roads is a little funny too. Like if you leave the Mohawk, not the Mohawk, the co-op gas station, you to get down, I'm thinking, oh, they're not done the road. And then I saw the lines painted. And I thought,
Yeah.
are they done the road? It's like they're missing a layer. Are they done? Are they done?
And like this,
I actually had a phone call.
where the trench is, or like where the ruts are, it's quite coarse, like water gets in there, it's just definitely gonna cause problems. I mean, like over the winters and whatever, like it's a very poor job as far as I'm, like, it's terrible. Like, I just, like, whoever signs off on that saying it's completed. You know, like the engineer firm should be out here.
Well, Matthew, can you talk to Grant, I believe?
Yeah, I know that they have, MP have identified some issues that they need to work on. So MP aren't ready to sign that off. I'll talk to Brian and I'll mention your concerns and make sure that I ask them to MP as well. But it's the seams on the three strips, right?
Yeah, well, you can go out there and see them, and I mean.
I'll go with Brent.
And connecting to the sidewalks
Yeah.
on both sides.
That's it.
That's all I got.
I have one question about the
Councilor Murphy?
bylaw. Well, we discussed it the other day, but the bylaw for the animals doesn't have a lot of teeth. Excuse the pun, when it comes to, having more than 3 dogs. So for example, the house with the problem next door is a giant cage with at least 4 dogs in it, and they go crazy if anybody walks by. But there's 4 dogs. I'm thinking, do they not know we have a bylaw that's only 3? But deep down, I'm thinking, what are you gonna do about it? Because we don't seem to have any teeth. And I'm wondering if there are other communities who have a bylaw that has a little more, so we can say thou shalt not, and if you do, this is what we're gonna do about it, not just fine, but some kind of legal repercussion that would allow us to stop our community from turning into a dog pound.
Everywhere I've ever worked, we joke about our bylaws that they have, they're all bar and no bite.
Yeah,
Because they're bylaws and they encourage for people to be good people. When people break those bylaws, we struggle to actually do anything other than enforce them.
Yeah.
Give a municipal fine and put it on their taxes. And we're not given a lot of power to, you know.
That's back to the peace officer thing, you know, versus bylaw. So. And again, how much money do you spend to enforce a bylaw? I realize the intent is there and the rationale behind it, but how much money do you throw at a problem?
In my opinion, I'm sorry, Senator.
Well, it's up to
Does that not depend on risk and the risk to the residents? Because like these ones that were disposed of, had some potential risk for injury to residents and things of that nature. We have a responsibility to the residents that are surrounding that area that this individual moved into. And they are at the back burner. It seems like anybody that chooses to ignore a bylaw, not because of the individual bylaw officer, but because there is not a whole lot of meat in it to deal with. You know, they can go ahead and ignore it. It's the residents that are the ones that are going to suffer forever and pay the bottom dollar if there is some sort of accident that happens.
We can make sure that there are fines at the highest that we can go with fines, so that there is that monetary impact. That if you're gonna get fined every week for having more dogs than you should, then maybe you will want to rehome the dog.
Providing they have a license, a dog license.
I think Sky's gonna get very knowledgeable about dog issues.
Okay, thanks, everyone. We'll adjourn at 9. Motion to accept the 3 reports as presented for information. Counselor Kroll, all in favor? Carried.